Alrighty, let's go. Welcome back into the Skooshi Sports Podcast, giving you my live reaction to TLT for round 2. We have a full round of rugby league coming at you this weekend. 8 games. We are back to normal scheduling, baby. How bloody good is it? The Vegas teams are back. We've got the Bulldogs in the bye. We've got the Tigers. Get to see the first glimpse of how they are looking for the 2026 season. So let's just rip the scab off and let's get straight into it. Hey, first game of the week, Thursday night, Broncos versus the Eels. Broncos coming off a donut at home. Eels coming off an absolute slacking, conceding 50 against Melbourne. All right, starting with the Broncos. Forward, we've got Reece Walsh, Karapani, and Dean Mariner on the wings, Stags, and Shibasaki in the centres. Ezra Mam is getting the start. He was this time last week, but ended up getting benched late for Ben Hunt. So Ezra Mam getting the starting 6-role. Adam Reynolds in halfback there. Corey Jensen, Payne Haas in the forwards. Corey Pakes gets the start over Ben Hunt at the hooker. We've got Jack Krzyzewski and Jordan Ricky in the second row. Paddy Carrigan there in that lock. On the interchange, we've got Ben Hunt, Xavier Willison, Ben Tolte, Albex Tafa, Grant Anderson, and Jaden Hunt. Oh, excuse me. I'm pretty sure it's pretty unchanged from last week. Excuse me. All right, Eels, fullback Isaiah Iyongi on the wing, Simonson, and the Fox is back early return from, I think it was a broken hand in the preseason. That actually means in the centre we've got Will Pennessy and Sean Russell. Brian Kelly has not been selected. Got to work his way into this team by the looks of it. In your half, Jonah Pezzett and Mitch Moses in the forward role. We've got Jack Williams and Junior Barlow. Hopgood has been suspended for 1 game. Starting a hooker, we've got Riley Smith. On your edges, Kelma Tuolangi and Kiriana Katoga. Obviously, that's because Jack Williams is now in the forwards. Tuolangi now gets his start on the edge. Big watch for Tuolangi. He needs a big season. Jack DeBellin there at lock. On the interchange, Dylan Walker, Sam Tuivati, Matt Dory, Talon De Silva, Charlie Garma, and Joash Papali'i there. Not too many surprising things. Obviously, the one change that the Eels had to make was Jermaine Hopgood out. So they've just moved Jack Williams into the forward role. Kelvin Tuolangi gets his opportunity there to start on the edge, which is a big watch for him personally. I really like Kelvin Tuolangi. I think he's a really talented player. Just hasn't really quite taken advantage of the opportunities that he's had. Very interested to see how the Broncos and both the Eels actually bounce back. Broncos 19 errors last week. Eels were pretty much just as bad as well. Very intrigued to see how these two teams bounce back this week. All right, second game on the week. We've got first Friday game. Warriors and the Raiders here at Go Media Stadium. So for the Warriors at fullback, I would think this is going to be pretty unchanged. Fullback Chance, Nickel Klukstad. On the wings, we got DWZ and RTS, absolute anagram central. On the centers, Ali Leitao, who I'm hopefully expecting a big bounce back defensively. And on the left center, we've got Adam Pompey. 5'8", we got Chanel Harris-Tavita. Halfback, we've got Tanner Boyd, who was man of match last week for mine. In your forwards, Captain Jane Fisher-Harris and Jackson Ford, who was both exceptional last week. Hooker Wade Egan. On your edges, we've got Kurt Capewell, Jacob Laban getting another start there. Hopefully he takes advantage of the start because I thought he was pretty poor last week. Aaron Clark in there at lock. Interchange, Sam Healy, Dimitri Valmunga, Leka Halasima, Tanis Dale-Smith, Tane Torpicki, and Morgan Gannon. Unchanged from last week, 1 through to 19 for the Waz. I would probably be expecting a similar rotation to last week, pending any injuries or HIAs. I think on the reserve we should have AKP. Ended up playing New South Wales Cup. Interesting that Nia Corey is in the reserves, but he's not on the bench there. I don't know whether he's gonna be playing New South Wales Cup this week. Maybe he's just not quite ready to go this week coming, but I expect him to probably be in the 19 week to week if healthy. I would say he'd probably make room for Morgan Gannon would be my guess. I really like Stower Smith. I really like Valmunga. Leka has to be there, and Sam Healy has to be there. I'd say Torpicki for X Factor as well. For the Raiders, should just be the one change, I would say. Interesting. KO Weeks at fullback, Tamale and Savage there on the wings. Simi Sasangi retains his spot as center. Not sure what's happening with Matt Timoko if he's still injured. He played 80 minutes last week. Maybe it's just a dropping. Maybe he just wants to continue with the same team. Sebastian Chris and the other centers there. In your half, Ethan squared with Ethan Strange and Ethan Sanders. In the forwards, we've got Morgan Smithy starting for Josh Papali'i. And we've got Joe Tarpany, captain. Hookup, we've got starting with Tom Starling. On the edges, we've got Hudson Young, Noah Martin getting the start once again. Sounds like Matty Nicholson. I don't think it's confirmed that will be going for injury on his shoulder because it got redone on the weekend in New South Wales Cup. Starting lock, we got the horse, Corey Horsburgh. On the interchange, Jaden Bradley, Zach Hosking, Atta Mariota, Matthew Timoko on the bench. Wow. I found that so interesting. Dane Laurie and Joe Roddy. Not even a 2-forward bench for the Raiders here. That is very intriguing considering the Warriors forward pack is quite strong and we've got 3 forwards, essentially 4 forwards on there. That is an interesting bench that the Ricky Stewart has named Owen Paddy, Jed Stewart, and Chevy Stewart on the reserve. So it's not even like a forward's going to come in. Wow, that is very interesting. Obviously, Hudson Young and Noah Martin can play 80 minutes. And they're just kind of expecting, I guess, a rotation between Morgan Smithies, Joe Tarpany, and Corey Horsburgh. I find that very, very interesting. Obviously, one of these, depending if they, I'm interested. Jaden Bradley should come on, Zach Hoskins should come on, and Adam Mariota. I'm very intrigued to see who comes on out of these three, out of Timoko, Darren Laurie, and Joe Roddy. Out of those 3, who actually ends up coming on as that 4th interchange. Very, very interesting there from Ricky Stewart. Just 2 forwards. You generally don't see that from Canberra. Usually likes to go stack the pack. Very interesting, considering Josh Papali'i, one of their enforcers, is out of this one here. One to think about. Moving on, Friday night, an absolute classic this one. Roosters and the Rabbitohs here. AJ going for the try-scoring record. Starting with the Roosters, we've got Teddy at fullback. On the wings, Tupou and Nwanga Nitawase. In the centres, Billy Smith coming off an exceptional game last week. Bobby Toy is back, although he was named last week. So good to see he is back. In the halves, DCE and Sammy Walker. In the props, we've got up front Naf White and Lindsay Collins. Starting hooker is Benai Ayelu. On the edges, got Angus Crichton on the left. Siwa Wong, what is getting his start on the right edge? Egan Butcher getting a start at lock. Now, I thought Nat Butcher was really solid last week. He made 57 tackles or something. So let's have a look at the bench. Connor Watson, Blake Steet, Nat Butcher, Feketi, Ramsey, and Palga. I feel like that's pretty darn harsh on Butcher. I get it. I thought Wong was not too bad off the bench last week, but okay, interesting. He's made changes like that after one game. Interesting. I think you got to start. I think Connor Watson has to get more minutes. If he gets 30 minutes again and they end up losing, mate, I'm going to absolutely pop off in my review next Monday. Absolutely lose it because he is way too good to only be playing 30 minutes off the bench. For South, Shigo at fullback. On the wings, AJ and Campbell Graham. Centers, Latrell Mitchell and Jackie Wyden. One change here for South, Cody Walker in 5'8", Jaden Sullivan, Bud Sullivan is coming in at halfback for the injured Ashton Ward. Jamie Humphries back from suspension next week, so I'd expect Jamie Humphries to come into that 7 role next week. Up front, we've got Tavita Totola and Keon Kolomatangi. Starting hooker is Bronson Garlick. On the edges, Dave Fafita on the left, Ewan Aiken on the right, Cam Murray there at lock. On the bench, Peter Mamazalos, Tanas Duncan, Lockley Hubner, Sean Kepi, Latrell Siegwalt, and Moala Graham Talford there. So a couple little changes there for South. On your reserve, you got LeBlanc, Fletcher, and Atata. I haven't heard of him before. Interesting. Obviously, we've got, what do we got? Feels like a 3 forward bench there for South. I'd probably expect the top 4 guys to come on. Definitely Hubner, Tunkin, Mamazelos. I'd say Kepi will come on as well for 20 or 25 minutes. This is a very interesting game. South, I thought, were pretty good, putting up 40 in round 1. They also conceded 30. Roosters are also coming off conceding 40 against the Wires. They'll be looking for a big bounce back in this one here. Very intrigued to see how DC and Samuel Walker go in their second game together. All right, heading on to Saturday, 2 p.m. We have Super Saturday back, baby. How bloody good. Tigers and the Cowboys at Leichhardt Oval. I'd expect the Hill to be absolutely packed. Tigers, their opening game of the season. Fullback Dream Buller on the wings, Taruva and Luke Laulili. I did hear today that Stafford Toa did cop an injury at training, so he would be out. And so Laulili would be coming in on wing, Maxine into the left center. I say Taylor May would be right center. Guys, this is my live reaction. I get home from work and record this as soon as I can. I only see the news during the day before the team lists come out. In your halves, Jerome Lua, captain, and Adam Dewey there in the 7. Up front, we've got Terrell May and Fanua Bole. Starting hooker is Api Coruscant. On the edges, Samuela Fainu and KPP, Kai Pierce-Paul. Don't know why are these jersey colors different in Terrell May and Kai PP? Don't know. Alex Twal getting the starting role there at lock. On your bench, Jock Matters, Theoni Fainu, Royce Hunt, Alex Seyfarth, Tristan Hope, and Gerald Skelton there. Maverick Guy, Tony Sucker, Heath Mason there in the reserves. Pretty solid first starting 13 or starting 19 for the Tigers here. Don't think I'd expect too much to change. I'd be shocked if Tristan Hope or Gerald Skelton got game time in this one here. Tigers rocking with a 3-forward bench, I'd say. I'd be surprised if who was actually Tristan Hope usually, who's the replacement 9 I'm usually Tristan Hope may actually come on for Api Coruscant. Maybe Api's going to play close to 80 minutes in this one. Interesting. For the Cowboys, Scotty Drinkwater gets named at fullback despite the rib cartilage injury here. We've got on the wings Braden Burns and Maui Taralangi. I believe Braden Burns is going to the judiciary tonight for his shoulder charge on KP in Vegas. In your centers, Jackson Purdue and Tom Chester. In your halves, obviously we still got Zach Labour on suspension. In the halves, Jake Clifford and Tommy Dearden. Starting up front, Cohen Hess and Jason Taumalolo. Starting hooker is Reed Marnie. In your edges, right edge, Helium Lukey. Left edge, Sam McIntyre. And your starting lock is Ruben Cotta. On your bench, Sonny Luke, Kai O'Donnell, Griffin Neem, Matthew Lodge, Liam Sutton, and Ethan King. Not too many surprises for me from the Cowboy side of things. Robert Darby, Harrison Edwards, and Caden Lars on the reserves there. Yeah, not too many sort of surprises for me. Obviously, Thomas McKaylee is out with an injury. I think he's out for at least 6 weeks, I want to say. I think he's out for quite a long period of time. Very intrigued. Big watch on Scott Drinkwater this week, carrying that rib injury that he copped in Vegas early on. Ended up getting some injections or painkillers and playing through it, but he was very ineffective for the rest of that game after that hit. And obviously, we've got Braden Burns serving the judiciary tonight for that hit on KP. I would be saying that Robert Darby would come in for Braden Burns if he is suspended for that one there. Very intrigued to see how the Cowboys back from a pretty disappointing game in Vegas, but honestly, you could probably name only a couple tougher locations to go play after getting back from a trip from Vegas, and one of them would be freaking Leichhardt Oval. First game of the season, that place is going to be absolutely rocking. Played pretty solid in the trials, especially that second trial against the Panthers. That was played at Leichhardt. Also, that Macassini try. His essentially second game in the NRL is coming weekend, playing left center instead of the wing. Very intrigued to see how he adapts to center, especially defensively as well. He will have Tom Chester running at him for this game here. Moving on to the midday game, second game on Saturday. Dragons and the Storm here coming from Wynn Stadium in Wollongong here. Starting with the Dragons, I expect this to be pretty unchanged. Gutherson at fullback. On your wings, Tui Pelotu and Setu 2. In your centers, Sully and Val Holmes there. In your halves, we've got Carl Flanagan and Daniel Atkinson. Starting front row, Emre Gula and Toby Couchman. Damien Cook getting the starting hooker role. See if he goes 80 minutes again. Luciano Leilua and Jaden Stewart getting a start on the edges there. Hamish Stewart there in lock, who actually did get last minute benched in Vegas. So intrigued to see how that ends up. On your bench, Haim Saleh, Josh Kerr, Blake Laurie, Ryan Catchman, LKT, and David Varley. On your reserves, Helen Garhu, Matt Thine, and Terrell Sloan. Again, not too many surprises from this point of view, from a Dragons point of view. I thought they were honestly really good against the Doggies. Just probably came up against a really, really solid defense. Daniel Atkinson's only going to get better, I think, in that 7 role. I think he is definitely a sneaky watch, Supercoach wise. Against the Storm, I get it. Storm are freaking good, but it's just you just know the Dragons will be definitely up for this matchup here. You feel. Storm starting fullback, Suafa logo on the wings. We've got Will Warbrick and Nick Meaney. I'd expect this to be pretty unchanged as well, pending one. In your centres, we've got Jack Howarth and Moses Leo. In your halves, Cam Munster and Jerome Hughes. In your forwards, Uto Okamanu and Josh King. Harry Grant, captain. It's good to see Harry Grant is named. Thank fuck for that for Supercoach. On the edges, Joe Chan and Ativar Lasati, so still no Sean Bloor here. I think he's either suspended, injured, or both. I'm not quite sure. Tui Kamakamika getting the starting lock roll there. On the bench, we've got Tyron Wishart, Cooper Clark, Jack Hetherington, Davian Wally, Preston Con, and Sualangi Tumalatu Brown. Pending HIAs and injuries, obviously they used 5 on their bench last week because Alec McDonald got knocked out in literally the first minute. I'd probably be expecting Wishart, Clark, Hetherington, and Mawali to come on for the Storm in this one here. Thought Cooper Clark was pretty strong last week. I'd say interesting to see who replaces Kamikamita. Don't see him going 80. Maybe Wishart comes in for a little bit of a spell then there at the lock roll. Angus Hinchy, Sean Bloor's on the reserves. Okay, interesting. Hugo Peel as well. Sean Bloor in the reserves. That is definitely one to watch. So he's not suspended. Maybe he's coming back from an injury. Wonder how healthy he is. Big Lasati watch there. Maybe he comes in last minute for Preston Con because I think he's a 2RF. Very interesting watch for Lasati owners and Supercoach there. Very, very interesting. Moving on, Panthers and the Sharkies, the Saturday night game. This should be an absolute cracker there out in Bathurst. Starting with the Panthers. Fullback, we've got the Eggman, Dylan Edwards on the wings. Milky Bar Kid, Thomas Jenkins and Bizza, Brian To'o. And your centers, Paul Alamotti and Casey McLean. So still no Isaac Tongo. Interesting to see if he's on the bench. In your halves, Blaise Lungi and Nathan Cleary. Forwards, you've got Moses Leota and Lindsay Smith. Starting hooker is Mitch Kenny. On the edges, you got IPAP getting the start this week. Still Luke Garnett on the right edge. Still no Liam Martin in this one here. Sorensen, see what Sorensen is. Isaiah Yeo starting at lock. On your bench, you got Jack Cogger, Billy Phillips, Scott Sorensen, Kalani Going, Isaac Tungo, there he is, and Freddie Lussick there. In your reserves, you got Tom Arley, Jack Cole, and Sione Fanua. So Liam Martin still not good enough to go in this one here. So Luke Garnett getting the shot once again. Sounds like now, if he's getting named 2 starting roles in a row because he's a late start against the Broncos, that Isaiah Papali'i will be the starting left edge for the Panthers going forward, which I think is definitely the right move. Sorensen off to Perth next year. I think IPAP, second year in the Penrith system, should go absolutely gangbusters. For the Sharkies, I'd be shocked if this have got changes in it, unless injuries. Will Kennedy at fullback, Siona Katoa, Sammy Stonestreet on the wings, Jesse Ramey, KL Iro there in your centres. In your halves, Braden Trindle and Nico Hines. Starting up front, AFB and Tommy Hazelton. Starting hooker and captain Blake Brayley there. On the edges, Britton Nicorette and Billy Burns. So still no sign of Teague Wilton. In your starting lock, still got Jesse Colhoun until Cam McInnes comes back. On your bench, Steph Talakai, Toby Rudolph, Oregon Kafusi, Braden Wale, Hohepa Puru, and Chris Vaila. So, sounds like Teague Wilton is still not healthy enough to go. You got Jaden Barrell, Niwai Puru, Michael Gabriel there in your reserves. Unchanged there for the Sharkies, it looks like, and absolute no shock to me. They were excellent last week. Probably one of the absolute teams of the week going along with the Storm. Yeah, this is going to be an absolute cracking game. Very intrigued to see how Panthers back up a 26-0 win. Very intrigued to see how the Sharkies back up a 52-10 win against the Titans in this one here. Moving on to Sunday, got a couple games here. Starting off at 4 Pines Park, Brookie Oval. Sunday afternoon game. We've got Manly and the Knights here. So, starting fullback for Manly, obviously we've got Tommy Turbo and captain. On your wings, Jason Saab and Lehigh Hopawate. In your centers, Tolata Kola and Ruben Garrick. In your halves, Luke Brooks and Jamal Fogarty. Starting up front, Paseka and Kobe Hetherington is getting a starting prop start for Tauki Aho, who is injured, which I really like Kobe Hetherington. I think that's a good move. Jake Simpkins starting their hooker. On the edges, you got Homale Olakawatu and Burbo. And then starting lock is Jake Travojevic. Just intrigued to see Jakey's minutes this week. I just thought he played way too many minutes last week in the wet. On the bench, Joey Walsh, Nathan Brown, Ethan Bullymore, Paul Bryant, Brandon Wakeham, and Josh Felady. In your reserves, Corey Waddell, Jackson Sherribb, and Simeone Laiafi. Only real big change there is Takiaho out for just obviously injury. Not a massive surprise there. Clan Falalo is also out as well. Don't know what's happening with Falolo. We'll have to probably look that up. For the Knights here, backing off that good win against the Cowboys in Vegas here, KP starting fullback and captain on your wings, Dom Young and Greg Mazu. Starting centers, Dan Gagai and Bradman Best. In your halves, we still got Sandon. Fletcher Sharp is out. I did know that. Sandon Smith and Dylan Brown starting halves. Interesting that they're keeping Dylan Brown there at 7. Sounds like obviously he is meant to be the 7 there at the club. Starting front row, Jacob Saifidi and Trey Mooney. Good to see Trey Mooney getting another start. Phoenix Crossland there at starting hooker. On the edges, Dylan Lucas and Jermaine McEwen. Tyson Frizzell getting the starting lock roll. On the interchange, Thomas Kant, Matt Croker, Pasami Solo, Francis Manolelua, Fletcher Hunt, and Harrison Graham there. Tyson Campbell, Cody Hopwood, and James Schiller there in your reserves. Nothing major there for the Knights. Just a couple little bench changes, it looks like. Obviously, Fletcher Sharp out, Sandon Smith in. So I think that means Harrison Graham has come on to the interchange now, I think, because Sandon Smith was on the bench. So I'm very intrigued to see how Knights back up that Vegas performance. And I actually kind of like Manly in this game. I think they showed a lot of positive signs last week. Tommy Turbo looked pretty healthy. And then moving on, final game of the week, one of the shit time slots, 6:15 Sydney kickoff, 5:15 local here. Dolphins and the Titans from Suncorp Stadium, Queensland Derby. Starting with the Dolphins, who are Hamiso at fullback on your wings, Jermaine Sarko and Selwyn Cobbo there. In your centres, Jake Averillo, still getting a start there in the centres, Herbie Farnworth. In your halves, Cody Nikarima and Isaiah Katoa there, and captain. Starting up front, Tommy Gilbert, Tom Squared, Tommy Gilbert, and Thomas Flegler. Brad Schneider is getting the starting hooker, so it sounds like Donahue is still injured by the sounds of it. Lemuelu and Fini Fuyaki getting starting edge rolls. Morgan Knowles starting at lock again. On the bench, Maxi Plath is back, baby. Oren Keeley, Felice Kafuni, Ray Stone is also back, Trey Fuller, and then you got Sebastian Stewart there as well. On your reserves, Lewis Simons, Tavita Nafahu, and Brian Poinu. Not massive surprises. I actually did hear today Max Plath and Ray Stone would be back. Obviously, they've made room now for, I think, Brent Wolf, and then I forget who the other option is. Big watch for me this week with the Dolphins is Jake Averillo, just defensively. He's there on that right side, so I want to say Jojo Fafita going at him. I could definitely be, probably Max Fina, actually. Very intrigued to see how Jake Averillo goes defending at center again this week. I thought he was pretty poor last week. But both these teams, Dolphins coming off conceding 40, Titans coming off conceding 50. Big watch to see how these two teams bounce back defensively and just overall how they bounce back. Obviously, Dolphins still can score 30. Titans are probably there with the Eels, probably the worst team of the week last week. Titans starting fullback Keanu Keeney. On the wings, you got Sailili Fayamani and Philip Sami. In your centers, Jojo Fafita and Max Fine. In your halves, AJ Brimson, JC still out, so Lockie Ilias is going around again. In your props starting, we've got Mo Fodawaker and Tino Fa'asuamaleaui, who I expect to bounce back for sure. Sammy Verrills is healthy enough to go starting this week. I thought he suffered a bit of a rib injury last week, but sounds like he's good to go. This is big news. Arama House still starting on the right edge for the Titans. That's big for super coaches. Bo Fermont on the left. Chris Reynolds starting there at lock. On your bench, okay, I've just seen it. Wow. Curtis Morin, Tui Simpkins, Cleese Haas, Cooper Bye, Luke Summonett, and Zane Harrison. On your reserve, you still got Jet Liu, Jensen Tomapiu, and Josh Patson. I'm intrigued with Josh Patson because obviously he suffered a HIA against the Storm in the second trial, and sounds like he just wasn't good enough to go last week for round one. But I'd probably expected him on the bench this week, so just very intriguing that he's not. Obviously, you can't have like 5 forwards there. They've got 4 forwards plus Summerton and Zane Harrison there on the bench. Cleese Haas is an edge front, on the edge there as well. So I guess you can't fit them all. It's just very intriguing to see that Josh Patson, all the rumors that he's going to be starting. Now he's hasn't made even the team in round 2, but that's definitely really big news for Aram Mahal. If he's named there next week, that's even more important for super coaches there as well. Not too many sort of surprises. Probably the main surprise I just thought was probably Josh Patson, not even named in the starting in the 1 to 19 there. But this should be a very high scoring game. Could be one of the most entertaining games of the week. But that'll do it for me, guys. There is your TLT week 2, round 2, sort of live reaction there. Honestly, really not a whole lot of massive surprises to me. Got a couple of guys back, like Maxi Plaster's back, Ray Stone's back, which is good to see. And there's a couple sort of injuries that were sort of expected, but no massive changes yet in round 2. Coaches not overreacting to round 1 losses. A lot of round 1 winners are pretty much unchanged going into round 2, pending any injuries. But that'll do it for me, guys. I will have the trade room coming out for you Thursday morning, giving you my NRL Supercoach preview for the week. But stay in touch, stay tuned for obviously other NRL videos coming out. I've got sports videos coming out as well. Just doing my podcast schedule. I have NRL review coming out. It's like Monday morning, the round review. Supercoach round review will be out Tuesday morning, and then Tuesday afternoon will be your TLT reaction, and then Supercoach preview, the trade room, will be out for you Thursday mornings. That's how it's pretty much looking for the year, I think. But that'll do it for me, guys. Thank you so much for watching and listening, and cheers.